What if there are legal issues with the property you're buying? How do you resolve them? For this big question, we've got Shahid Ali from Ali & Baines. Thank you very much for coming back again.
Thank you very much.
Me and Shahid, we go back 15 years. You'll be taking on most of our transactions, and we'll discuss everything title related. Let's do it. Thank you for everyone tuning back to our real estate related channel with the special guest Shahid Ali from Ali & Baines. We're looking to always provide a related content for buyers and sellers. So thank you again for tuning in and subscribe for future episodes. So Shahid, again, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Let's talk title, right?
Absolutely.
So what if there is a legal issue with the property a purchaser is buying? How do we find out, and what do we do more importantly to resolve it?
I cannot tell you how important this whole topic and how important this entire issue is in the context of purchasing a property or even selling the property. As soon as you have signed the contract, the first thing that you have to do through your attorney is to order a title search. And what does title search do? It finds out about what are the legal problems with a house. When we talk about the legal problems, it basically means who owns the property. The seller claims to be in the contract of sale as the owner of the property. How do we know he's the owner of the property? Sometimes the property is owned by an LLC or a corporation. How do we know the members or the shareholder or the officer signing on behalf of the LLC is the actual officer recognized under the operating agreement? So there are some legal questions involved to determine as to who has the legal right to transfer the ownership of the property.
So basically this goes back all the way to the first owner, so you basically see who owned it and who's the new owner. Because I remember we had issues when there were multiple owners we didn't even know about. It was inheritance, and then all of a sudden their auntie came out and uncle came out, and there were major issues. So title is crucial.
Absolutely.
Title is crucial. It's not a joke.
That becomes an extremely complicated issue. Just to give you an example, 10 years ago, the property was owned by a person A. He died 10 years ago.
Let's call him John.
John Doe owned the property 10 years ago, and he's dead. At the time of the closing, or at the time of even signing the contract, his wife is signing the contract for him, and his wife is claiming to be the owner of the property. When we do a title search, the name of Nancy, the wife, doesn't show up. The name is shown as John Doe. So who is Nancy? Now Nancy claims to be the surviving sole spouse of the decedent. That raises certain questions now. How do we determine this, that she has the legal right to transfer the ownership of the property? Well, the basic things that we need to find out whether she was actually married to John Doe.
Number one.
We need a marriage certificate. Number two, we need to find out about the death certificate, whether John is actually dead or he is sitting in a jail or sometimes disappears. So if there is no death certificate, there is no closing. These are the two very important things. Finally, we also got to make sure that there was no divorce between the two of them. If there was divorce, it's possible that there must have been a settlement. So these are the kinds of legal issues.
Sometimes there's even kids.
There could be kids too.
Remember we had an issue back in the days. There were a couple of kids from a previous marriage.
Exactly, and they may actually have some disputes over to the situation. So you have to be careful about those situations, and these are the kinds of things that are revealed by a title search. Now, title companies typically run a search on the property for at least about 20 years. Why 20 years? Because the New York State has a statute of limitation. If a person had a rightful claim to the title of the property, let's say 25 years ago, why hasn't he done anything for 25 years?
Makes sense.
That actually limits his right to bring a claim then. So if he has not done anything for those 25 years, that means he has waived and abandoned his rights. So which is why the title companies would go as far as 20 years. In those 20 years, they would basically see whoever owned the property, whether those legal formalities were satisfied properly or not. One person to another and to another until today, they're going to make sure that the chain of the title was preserved properly. That is extremely, extremely important. These are some of the important issues regarding the title. There could be some liens on the property. What if the seller has recognized someone's interest in the property? For example, when you take a mortgage, the bank puts a lien on the property.
Right.
as a security interest. So that interest needs to be satisfied latest by the time of closing. What if the seller took a credit card from Citibank, a $100,000 credit card, used the credit in vacationing, and then committed a default, didn't pay the money back? Citibank went ahead and took a judgment against the seller.
So they put a judgment against the property?
That judgment gets attached to the property. So these are the kinds of legal issues that can actually be very, very important for you, that can only be revealed in the form of a title search.
Even like we've seen a lot of second mortgages, right? The equity,
line of credits could
correct.
be there.
The value has gone up, they took an equity against the property, they attach a second lien, second mortgage to the property.
Exactly. Property taxes could be liens. Water bills could be liens if
So
they're
they
not
didn't pay
paid.
taxes, they didn't pay water bills, the city has
Exactly.
put a lien against the property.
So when you-
So the title will reveal all of that.
Yes, the title, when you do a title search, the title search report has two aspects. The primary aspect is the legal problems. The secondary aspect is the violations of municipal codes. Now understand what's the difference. The legal issues can possibly take away the ownership from you. Municipal issues do not necessarily take away the ownership, but they can actually have some financial consequences for you. Both are equally
So
important.
these liens, let's say from the water company, the not paying taxes, they have to be satisfied by the seller at the closing.
The contract of sale clearly says the seller undertakes the responsibility to address all of the legal issues and municipal issues. So once the title search comes in, the buyer's attorney is going to share the title search report with the seller's attorney,
Got it.
and then from there on, the process
They'll
starts
work
on.
together.
The process starts on.
Perfect. So the buyer's attorney orders the title, you mentioned that, right?
That is correct. So
You
as
order
soon as the
yourself, or do you
contract,
use like a title company?
yes,
or?
of course, as soon as the contract is executed, the first thing the buyer's attorney is going to do, he's going to send the contract of sale executed by both the parties to a title company. Now, why the contract of sale? Because the title company requires some basic information: the parties' names, the buyer's names, and seller's name. They need the property address.
Block and
They need the
lot.
property, the block and lot numbers. They need the purchase price and all that, which is part of the contract. So we typically forward that contract of sale to the title company, and title company will take out the necessary information, and then they will start searching the information. So they have different databases, they have different companies on their panel that they use.
Got it.
And once the information is received, it comes in the form of probably hundreds of pages.
Wow.
So what they do is they condense it and they prepare a summary in about 30 or 40, maybe 50 pages, and then they provide it to both the parties.
How long does the search take?
So it goes by county. In the city of New York, it takes about 3 to 5 business days. In
very
Nassau,
fast.
and Suffolk, maybe outside of the city jurisdiction, where the records are not still kept online. Sometimes you have to physically retrieve the information from the county clerk's office, sometimes courts. It can take longer time. Typically, my experience is Nassau and Suffolk counties take about 10 to 15 days.
And New York City about 5.
Three to 5 business days.
3 to 5 business days. Who's responsible to deal with the possible issues?
So
of title?
as I said, the seller has the contractual obligation to give a free, insurable, and a marketable title to the purchaser latest by the time of closing. Once the title report comes in, title company itemizes certain exceptions to the policy. What does that mean? It means what are the legal issues. It lists all those legal issues in the form of a Schedule B. In Schedule B, they raise certain exceptions which say these are the problems with the house legally, and secondarily open violations of municipal code. They list those issues in the title report, and the seller's attorney and the sellers both work together to address those issues. Now,
I mean, does it take time? I mean, let's say there's a violation, ECB, HPD, DOB, there's violations. How does it take time? You gotta get an expediter.
yes. So
You gotta
first,
go address the problem, maybe do a construction. So will the seller give enough time to the buyer now? Because if you have an issue on the title, that might take a couple of months to resolve. They might delay the whole transaction.
one of the reasons why in my practice I order the title right away after signing the contract is because exactly the issues that Raj is talking about. What if there are legal issues? If you do not order the title right away and you wait for the mortgage approval, which can take maybe about 45 days to 60 days anyway, and then you order the title, and then you learn something wrong with the property, you have a you have certain timelines from your mortgage. Your bank is going to be hammering you to close because you have rate locks, the rates are going up.
They're gonna expire.
Okay, your credit
Cost.
report is expiring, your documents are expiring, so they'll be pushing you, and the seller is going to say, listen, you just give me too little time. So in my practice, what I do, as soon as the contract is signed, I order the title search. Once the report comes in, I share it with the seller's attorney. So while you are busy in doing your mortgage, the seller will be busy fixing the title related problems. So both the things are done at the same time, and both the parties get ready at the same time.
Makes sense.
With that said, there can be some issues in certain situations that may require the seller to take more time. Now, in those cases, we typically have to make a decision. Just to give you an example, if there is a violation against the property that is opened by a buildings department. Now, what could be a violation? Just to give you an example.
They're very common. I mean, you see
It's a
them all the time.
it's a one family house. The purchaser put a kitchen in the basement and he's renting it out, which is a violation of a code. In the basement, your basement cannot be rented out legally.
Correct.
Okay, but if you are renting it, you're violating the terms of the code imposed by the buildings department. In that case, if the building department learned about that, they'll put the violation against the property. That means you have to remove that violation, which requires you to deal with the buildings department bureaucracy, which is not easy here in the New York City. It takes time. So you have a choice to make. You can either wait, which typically is not a good idea, or you can get an estimate from a professional like an expediter and find out how much would the cost be and how much time will take. So you can then estimate and then ask the seller's attorney to hold some money in escrow and then go ahead and close. And then after the closing, the seller will fix the problem. So this is one of the issues. As regards to the legal problems, typically the sellers are able to handle those issues in a timely manner. They usually have documents in place and they can share them with the title company. The sellers have typically about 45 days. Sometimes they need more time. But while the buyer is busy doing mortgage, the seller is busy fixing those title related issues. So at the same time, both the issues get resolved.
Perfect. So it's super important that
Absolutely.
there's no question asked. I know when property is financed, the bank requires a title, no question asked. Have you ever seen somebody buying all cash, refusing actually doing the title?
Okay. Now, I have never seen in my 18 years of practice anyone, whether buying it cash or taking a mortgage and not purchasing a title insurance. Okay, it is extremely important. Why would you invest in a house? As I said, an average price in New York City is $500,000.
At least.
The cost of doing a title search is on an average about $500. Okay, you would at the very least want to know what's wrong with the property.
Correct.
Because you could potentially be buying a lawsuit. You could potentially be buying the property subject to any legal issues. And if you buy the property subject to those open issues, then you become responsible. You become responsible to address them. If there was any open mortgage, if there was any judgment against the seller that attaches to the property, if there were open permits and open property taxes, they become your responsibility then. Seller is not going to cooperate with you. So it is very important that you do a title search. After doing a title search, you have a decision to make, whether you purchase a title insurance. As I said, in my 18 years of practice, I've never seen a single person choosing not to purchase title insurance.
Walk us through it. How does it work with the title insurance?
In the context of title insurance, it's not like where you have a choice to go to Geico or Allstate for a car insurance and different companies have different premiums. When it comes to title insurance, that is mandated by the state of New York. The premiums are fixed. So it doesn't mean that you go to one company, they charge one, or the other company charges another. No, that's not the case. In title insurance, the premiums are fixed by the New York State. They have an agreement with the title insurance underwriters. They charge exactly the same premiums as any other company would charge. So you don't have any incentive in going around and negotiating the prices because they're going to be exactly the same. Now, one thing you should also keep in mind, at the time of the closing, when you see a title invoice, it usually runs into thousands of dollars.
Correct.
And people get scared that why am I paying so much in title fees? Understand, the title company is...
We're talking at the closing now.
At the time of the closing. Both the parties have to trust a neutral party to pay certain fees. Seller has to pay his New York City and the New York State transfer taxes, which could be a lot of money.
Yeah, anything in New York
Exactly.
City above $500,000, 1.825%.
Exactly. There could be past due property taxes that the seller has to pay.
Mm.
There could be future property taxes that the purchaser has to pay.
Mm.
If the purchaser is taking a mortgage from a bank, that mortgage has to be recorded in the public records. That has certain financial obligations, and that is a mortgage recording tax, which goes again is a lot of money. All these costs the title company receives from both the parties, which is not going in their pocket. They have to pay on behalf of the buyer, seller, and the bank to third parties.
So the title company is actually presented at the closing, and it's collecting fees or payments from both parties, and then pays them on their behalf.
On their behalf.
Got it.
So that doesn't mean
That's why
the title company
That's
is
why the bill looks so big. But
exactly.
Those actually fees going to the city, to the state.
Exactly.
Taxes, water
Exactly.
bills.
Absolutely. Now,
Gotcha.
the premiums, as I said, are determined by the New York State, which are fixed. Just to give you an example, if the property price is about $500,000, you have to pay a one-time premium in the amount of maximum $3,000 to $3,500.
So is it a percentage of the sales
It's-
price?
it's-
Is
it
it
goes-
based on the purchase price?
It is a
or-
percentage. There's a percentage formula that is agreed between the New York State Department of Insurance and the title underwriters.
There's nothing to do with the purchase price. It doesn't matter if it's a $500,000 versus $1 million property.
It goes by the purchase price and the loan amount.
Got it.
So they calculate it accordingly.
Understood.
Yeah.
So they have their own formula they use, and
That is correct.
yeah. So that is very, very, very important. Now the insurance. How long is the insurance for? Is it like a one-time payment? Is it like a yearly payment? Does it run throughout that you own the property? How does it work with the insurance?
Title insurance is a one-time affair. At the time of the closing, you're going to pay a one-time fixed fee, and you will be protected for the rest of the time as long as you own the property. Now, keep in mind, title insurance is basically giving you an insurance by taking a risk. They're assuming all kinds of risks against all kinds of legal problems as of the date of the closing. And here they're certifying and promising to you that if there was any legal issue left behind, it will not be you who will be responsible to deal with that. It will be the title company that will be responsible to deal with that. If the title company missed something, it's the title company's responsibility. It is not your responsibility. So you have a peace of mind.
So at the time of the closing, but if after you purchase the property and you start acquiring some debt or some liens or some violations, that's not covered on the insurance.
That is not, because that is an incident after when you purchase the insurance.
Understood.
So not future risk, all the previous risk.
Understood.
Anything prior to the
All way
closing,
back those 20 years.
exactly.
Got it.
Anything prior to the closing is the title company's responsibility. Anything after when you became the owner of the property is your personal responsibility.
Got it. So it's no brainer. $3,000 to $3,500 one-time fee.
Absolutely.
To be completely covered.
Absolutely. Now
Going back 20 years.
keep in mind, it's not mandatory to actually purchase insurance. This is your choice. But I must say this, why would you not purchase a title insurance?
I mean, similar like when you're driving a car. You don't have to have an insurance. If the car is paid off, you own the car. I don't believe you have to have an insurance. Right?
Well, actually, the New York State has certain states actually do give you a choice. For example, I know state of Tennessee does not make it obligation for you to actually purchase, but the New York State actually requires you that you
From
have a
insurance,
certain
at least
minimum,
liability.
at least a minimum liability insurance. But in the context of title insurance, there is no requirement, there's no obligation for you to purchase title insurance. But keep in mind, it's a huge risk, a risk that is unwarranted, it's an unreasonable risk and unfair to you and to your family, that if there is any problem after the closing, there is no recourse. So
Imagine you have somebody coming in, hello, this is my property. Somebody knocks on your door and says, this is my home, what are you doing here?
yes, so there could be a possibility of a double deal.
Yeah.
As I said, title company can make a mistake if you didn't do a title search, or title company made a mistake and they missed something. After the closing, you didn't take the insurance. Title company is not going to be responsible because you didn't purchase an insurance. You will be responsible to deal with that situation. But if you have purchased the insurance, even if title company made a mistake, it's the title company that is responsible to pay for the loss. They will appoint an attorney for you. They will defend you to the best. And if they're lost, it will not be you who will have to pay the loss. It will be the title company who will pay the loss.
Who's the insurer?
So it's not worth the risk. It's very important, and you should seriously consider not opting out.
Makes sense. Thank you very much again. Always great seeing you,
Always.
providing this great value. If you guys looking for any information regarding title, regarding contracts, reach out to Shahid. We'll put his information down here. So Shahid, thanks a lot again. It was always great seeing you. Me and Shahid, we created another video, the 7 most important points you need to know when buying or selling a home regarding a contract or sale. Click right here to watch that one, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care now.